Welcome back to GBGuns Armory, featuring Tacticity today. The series where we're going back over things reviewed in the past, and I'm giving you a little more of the thoughts and feels, as well as looking to collect opinions, experiences, thoughts and feels from you guys, since this stuff has been out for a while. As a reminder, if you stumbled across this channel somehow, these are not the full reviews. Those reviews were already done on the main channel. This stuff is a little bit of a deeper look. Today, the beast that is normally on the wall behind me, the Romanian PSL 54R. This thing is giant. We've got a big flash hider / muzzle brake on the end. On camera. See, we have an angled gas block, nice long handguard. This is essentially a stretched AK. It looks to the uncommon eye a little Dragunov-y, and it is the same caliber, but unlike the Dragunov, this is just a giant AK. 10 round detachable magazines, everything else is AK-esque. And then we've got this thumb hole stock, and the Easter egg that I didn't know about until doing the review is this butt plate is spring loaded, and that helps absorb quite a bit of the recoil. The chambering of 7.6254R, if you were not fortunate enough to grow up with surplus Mosin Nagants being cheap and the ammo being absurdly cheap, it is an ancient caliber. It's the longest continuous serving military round in the world, last I checked, going into service in 1891. And it is 7.62 by 5.4, so 3 millimeters longer case length than .308, and it performs kind of like an angry .308. So when you put it in a long barrel like this, you get some serious energy out of it, and the potential for kind of a DMR rifle, which is what this effectively served as. Now, something not commonly discussed is that Soviet doctrine was that snipers were more for harassing fire and suppression of troop movement than for taking out precise targets. They had a very different doctrine in the use of snipers. So the fact that 7.6254R isn't super accurate and the guns couldn't be built to be super accurate was not as important, because we're not doing sniper missions from a video game. We are demoralizing troops and limiting their movement from a distance with a devastating round should contact be made. Speaking of accuracy, this thing was a hot topic not long ago when a couple major rifle channels had disagreeing assessments of the accuracy of the gun. One of them said, look, it's fine, it's super accurate, and with a rather modified firearm and specialty ammo, shooting torso targets, was able to hit things. Another, using more common ammo and a more basic setup, said, no, not quite. I can tell you from my test of this, and I have it because I did a review on it for Tactical Life magazine a couple years back. I used 5 loads, I think 6 loads of different 7.62 by 5.4R, and there are precautions against using certain bullet weight, like it's meant for the ball. You don't want to run the heavy stuff, which kind of limits things. However, I happened to luck out many years ago when surplus ammo was great and buy some military match ammo in 7.62 by 5.4R that was Soviet. And this was matched down to projectile weight and boxed. Each box of 20 rounds had a stamp on it telling you what the average grain weight was in that box. So even when you open up a tin of it and you get a few of them, you can know what the differences are going to be. That is matched to a level that we don't often see in US ammo. Not that I don't think ammo makers do that. I mean, the stuff's matched, and most American match ammo is pretty darn good, but I've never seen individual labeling on each box as to the specific grain weight that's going to be in that box. I thought that was pretty cool. But with that stuff, this was sub-MOA. Now granted, I was also using, this is an old Nikon 4-16, and it's on an RS Regulate side mount that they sent for the review. I was very grateful of. The problem, as I'm sure you can imagine, is with an optic you end up with a rather limited cheek weld, because you have to go high. This is a classic AK thing to clear the dust cover and everything. Your optics mounts can easily end up being a little too high, but this thing was loads of fun to shoot and pretty darn accurate. The downfall to it was it got hot quickly, like to the point, it's up here, I don't know if the camera's going to catch it, a little bit of the enamel or lacquer boiled off the handguard there before I realized just how hot the gun was getting. Gets really stinking hot. And that combined with a relatively lightweight barrel profile, I think leads to some of the accuracy complaints about this. I could see that. Could it be done differently to be better and not have that problem? Yes. Could it also be doctrinal that they're not going to be firing a ton of rounds in a string and so the heat is not an issue? Maybe. Did Soviets write that doctrine around the capabilities of the platform rather than a platform to the doctrine? That's a good question. But this was a dream thing for me to have, much like the Vepr that's up in the corner there. Another semi-auto AK in 7.62x5.4. Growing up with Mosin Nagants, I loved the Cartridge, especially when it was cheap. I mean, it was cheaper than 9mm to get big old honking rounds. And always wanted a semi-auto in that Cartridge, just because to me that's badass. Powerful round, rapid rate of fire, super cool. The Vepr, I never wanted to put corrosive ammo in, so that dream kind of died away, and I certainly wasn't going to put corrosive ammo in this thing. That plus the heat issue and the overall size. I mean, this thing is giant. I'm 6'1", and putting it on the floor, it's above my belly button. So it's a long big boy, but certainly a treat to shoot, and something about the size and weight and shape, and of course the thumb hole stock and everything, makes you just take your time and enjoy at the range. It kind of wraps you into that DMR snipery mentality of really pushing for ultimate accuracy. And it's also quite the attention grabber. Now, fortunately, these things are still available in the US. They're imported from Kujir by Century Arms. Kujir, by the way, is a still current Romanian military factory. It is a government military facility, and they let some stuff out for export and other stuff goes into Romanian service. So it's kind of neat to get something like this. The lore on these, if just long story short, the Romanians needed a rifle like this, were denied the technical data packages from the Soviet Union due to political disputes, and so made their Dragunov at home by just making a giant AK. It's not the same thing, it's not as accurate, but it works. Possibly cheaper to make, I don't know, but it makes for a neat, unique piece, and since Romania is friends of ours, I literally rolled with them in their BTRs in Afghanistan. We're able to import this stuff and have kind of a neat piece. And call me shallow, but I think it looks pretty sexy on the wall. Fun to have. That's GBGuns Armory for today. Thanks for watching.